This video is brought to you by my wonderful Patreon team. If you want to join the Patreon team, please feel free to click the link down below. And I want to say thank you to my two new patrons, Tesla Chad and of course Elm Trio 2. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the video. I've been playing Watch Dogs Legion recently for the past few weeks, and I've been having a blast. The game itself is super fun despite it having a few issues on Xbox at the moment, but seeing London in its full glory and seeing it actually be captured the way that I hoped, it feels super cool to run around, and I'm really invested in the world that they finally created for Watch Dogs. The new neon cyberpunk crime series aesthetic that they're going for really makes me want to explore every inch and detail of London and whatever the game has to offer. But I have hit a wall. I personally don't care about this game. Like, Legion's big selling point is that you can play as everybody you see on the street. Not one person is the same and everyone has their own characteristics and even personalities to go along with them, but honestly, I would much rather just a pure one single player fleshed out character who I can connect with, see them grow and even see their flaws. But instead opting to go for several characters, being able to walk around as a painter, a super hacker, a football hooligan or even an old man, it doesn't speak to me as a story and it doesn't connect with me. When I look through this world and I'm looking through the eyes of a character, it doesn't tell me who this world is for. It lacks the world's personality that you usually get through characters' eyes. For example, if I'm talking about Watch Dogs 2, Marcus's world was bright, colourful, it was modern, all of it was filled with cringy memes, but that was the world that he saw through and it was connected with him as a character, therefore the world and Marcus came together as one and it blended quite nicely with the story. But when I'm walking around London and I'm seeing that it's just oppressed, but there's also holograms and there's drones flying around, the world itself is trying to tell you a story, but the characters who I play as sometimes feel often out of place and doesn't connect with it in the same way. And then that got me thinking, maybe it was time to go back to where it all happened in Chicago back in 2014 with Watch Dogs 1 and find out the identity that the series tried to craft for itself back then. The world of Watch Dogs is an interesting one. On release, many will remember the controversy that surrounded the E3 preview demo. We were shown a world unlike anything we've seen on the 7th generation of console. Incredible wind simulations, reflective water surfaces from the rain, along with a full living, breathing city. And what we got was that, but watered down. Many were mad and of course the game received serious backlash and maybe rightly so, but this mess of a generation has taught me something that a demo pre-rendered showing us something that we may not get is possibly the least of our worries that we're going to expect from gaming in the future. But because of that backlash, Watch Dogs has remained in the limbo of being forgotten. Despite having 2 sequels, it seems the first game has remained in the shadows for many and people have actively tried to avoid it. It sold very well and it got good reviews, but there was one subject that came up and still remains to be an issue for many people when reflecting on the first game. The main character, Aiden Pearce. But before we get into all of that, let's just hit that rewind button and take you back to 2009. Assassin's Creed 2 just dropped and Ubisoft had created its new poster child, Ezio Auditore. He's charming, funny, good looking. We see him grow into a man and make mistakes, and we also see him become a master assassin. Ezio is one of the most loved characters that Ubisoft has to offer in its arsenal, possibly up there with Sam Fisher and even iconic characters like Rayman and or even Prince of Persia. What's his name? And what happens when you have a character that successful? Well, you get 3 more games out of him, and possibly besides Connor from Assassin's Creed 3, it seems like every single Ubisoft character followed this template of charming, relatable man. And this is a trend that they even stretched out not just to their heroes, but also to their villains. People were beginning to catch on to this cliche that Ubisoft had created for its characters, and it was time that it needed to have a little bit of change. Enter Aiden Pearce. Aiden is a stubborn man, he has very little to say or even joke about. He's someone who's willing to do whatever he wants to get to his goal. Aiden isn't a likeable guy, and he was never designed to be. And not all heroes have to be likeable, some are just stuck in their own moral ambiguity. And Aiden Pearce, of course, is inspired by one of my favourite comic book character heroes of all time, Frank Castle, the Punisher. Frank Castle, unlike Aiden Pearce, lost practically his whole family. Aiden only lost his niece. But he believes this was all his fault. If he wasn't in their lives in the first place, this wouldn't have happened. This setting off Frank causes him to go into pure rage. Using his special tactic trainings and connections, Frank Castle becomes the Punisher. In many comics we see him torture, blackmail criminals. No matter how small the crime may be, Frank is practically willing to kill. As you can tell, Frank isn't a nice guy. But we still root for him as a character. We are seeing the right and wrong through his perspective. But for us as the reader, sometimes Frank's moral ambiguity can be a little bit too much for us, and sometimes he will even often go too far to stages that it would feel a little bit harsh to what he's doing to some people. Frank's world is shown to us unlike any other Marvel characters. Frank only looks for the broken and disturbed. He seeks out crime in the world's smallest cracks, and because that's how we're shown his personal scummy world, it feels like it was built around him as a vigilante. Aiden as a character and Chicago as a world is built with this in mind. Ubisoft didn't just seek out the next likeable hero they were known for, but instead they wanted to do something with a clear identity. Watch Dogs makes you walk. Not because it forces you to walk, but because you walk around this city and it feels right. You embody that persona of Aiden Pearce that the game sold to you. There is a weight that comes with playing as Aiden. As you stroll and walk your way down the streets of Chicago, Aiden will do something that separates him from many gaming heroes. He will just slip his hands in his pockets and blend into the world. And it's these brilliant little moments of animation and movement that brings Aiden alive. The way he holds his phone and giving it a side glance while looking around, the way he rolls, slides and maneuvers around and over cover, and Aiden's quick and ruthless takedowns and full control and determination of where he places every shot. Aiden is filled with personality just within his animations and motions. After experiencing the bland movements of Watch Dogs Legions, and which in my opinion is a personal backward step from Watch Dogs 2's over the top excitement movement, it has only highlighted the incredible amount of detail that the first game has really brought to the table, and I feel like the first game's animation quality is yet to be replicated in a Ubisoft game. But besides the movement and animation qualities, it's the worlds that these characters live in, and that brings me back to Chicago and how much personality that has as an open world setting. Aiden's world is accompanied by the beautiful autumn sky. Chicago leaves are turning brown and yellow, the weather is becoming cold and there is a change in the horizon. Autumn is a wonderful time of the year. For a lot of people it can bring that comfort that comes with the sound of crunchy leaves and cooling winds. But the world of Chicago is painted with an orange beauty and is bustling with life on every corner. But with every freed leaf that's flowing through the air, there is litter scraping across the floor. With every beautiful park and skyline, there is a slum and a ghetto filled with crime and gang activity. For Aiden, it's a story of letting go of the past and accepting the change that his future may bring, and accepting that he's slowly becoming that vigilante known as the Fox. Aiden Pearce's personality and cynical view on the world exists on every street corner. It allows you to explore this world through the eyes of a man who feels like he truly has nothing else worth living for besides saving his sister's life. Aiden is followed by this darkness and this feeling. The world shows this through the jet black shadows that hide the slightest glow of a person's eyes. The story in Aiden's narration falls perfectly in line with the noir genre. It's its cynical nature and characters that can only exist in the genre such as itself. The game's chiaroscuro-inspired visuals only bring the world's personality to the foreground. By using silhouettes and digitalized rim lighting, there are so many Ubisoft games that cannot hold a candle up against this game's open world that have came out this generation. So when I hear people mentioning this game's lack of identity and personality, it personally baffles me truly. Every inch is brought to life by Ubisoft's attention to detail and determination to deliver a truly unique story that lives within an open world such as Watch Dogs. So going back to Watch Dogs 2 or Watch Dogs Legion, seeing their characters fall into that likeable, quirky but forgettable pile, it really made me discover that it took for the Watch Dogs series to lose its identity, for me to discover that there was one there the whole time. Hi, I know this one was a little bit different. I just wanted to talk about Watch Dogs because it's sort of been on my list for the past few weeks. I've sort of been getting through it. I was hoping to do a whole entire 3-part thing, but I didn't find myself enjoying Legions as much as I wanted to, and I found myself just falling in love with the first game all over again, so I felt like it was worth talking about because I feel like that game doesn't get enough love that it deserves. But I hope you enjoyed this game, and I'd love to know what you thought of Watch Dogs 1 if you didn't enjoy it, or, you know, if you've enjoyed number 2 or such, or even what you're thinking of Watch Dogs Legion. If you did enjoy those games, please feel free to leave a comment down below, and of course leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and why not subscribe for more videos like this every single week. And of course I will see you at the next checkpoints. Goodbye.